Alright, my budding scientists. So this is our first lesson on the particle model, and put simply, a model is something we use to describe and explain nature. Okay, so here we say it's used to describe nature in an explanatory way, but it just means we use it to explain nature. The particle model is that essentially we explain how nature works, and that all matter, so matter is stuff, by the way, there's the notes if you're taking them down. All matter can be broken down into tiny little particles. So tiny little balls is a good way to imagine it, but tiny little particles. These particles, or atoms, are the smallest unit of matter. So you can't get smaller than a particle. Now, that being said, matter can exist in three common states and one less common state, which we're going to briefly mention. First, there's the solid. This board here is solid. So the particles, and it looks like this, okay? So the solid, it has a definite shape, and it's pretty hard to compress. It's incompressible. Now, when we talk about the particles of that solid, they're packed in very tightly amongst each other, and they vibrate in position. They don't move around normally. So if we heat the solid up, it then might change into a liquid. Now, the particles in a liquid, they take on the shape of the container. So whatever the shape of the container, here it's a beaker, they will take on that shape, and you can compress them a little bit, slightly. Now, the particles themselves, they're not tightly packed together, so they move around and they move over one another, and there's a bit of space in between them. A gas, so we heat it up a bit more and it boils into a gas. Now, first off, it's very compressible. We can squish a gas down a lot. There's a lot of space in between the particles, and there's no definite shape, and you'll actually see here, they'll fill up the room, or they'll fill up the container. Actually, you should say that, or they'll fill up the container. The particles themselves move very, very rapidly, and there's a lot of space between the particles. They move over top of each other. And this brings us to our fourth mystery, which we don't really cover much of, but it's one you're going to hear about, and that's plasma. And that's the most common state of matter, and that's basically the sun and all the stars. Alright, good work, and we'll see you in class tomorrow.